Today I'm going to be interviewing a very unique 16-year-old. He doesn't go to school, he has done some pretty controversial stuff, and he eats a very different diet that allow him to go from having a full face of acne, constant diarrhea, low confidence, to right now having healthy skin and gut and being much more confident. Right now he coaches people on how to transform their health like he did, and he has attracted tens of thousands of loyal followers on his social media. If you want to know more about his health improvement story, the controversial things he has done, and his tips on how you can also become much healthier like he did, make sure to keep listening. Welcome to my interview, Mr. Marcus. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
So, I want to talk about your health journey first. So, before we get into your special diet, I just want to know how unhealthy were you in the past. So, I want you to think about your most unhealthy state you have ever been in and just describe your life back then to me. Give me the most painful moments.
Okay, so, contrary to what a lot of people say, the time when I felt the worst and when I felt the least healthy was when I was doing a diet which people would say is 80-20, right? So I was eating 80% healthy and 20% unhealthy. And ironically, that was the time when I was the least healthy. Okay, so I had the most acne, I had the worst gut issues. I would have bleeding acne coming out of my face because I was very insecure about it because I would just pick at it all the time. And yeah, just the worst stomach pains ever, the worst digestion ever, random food intolerances. Like I would just randomly just have to go to the bathroom sometimes or randomly notice like some food makes me feel sick or whatever. So that's basically, the gist of it.
Can you elaborate more on what kind of diet were you eating back then?
Okay, sure. So I was eating, I had recently switched to kind of like some animal-based diet where I was eating a lot of meat and eggs, but I was also eating vegetables and grains, and I wasn't very consistent. I also would go out with friends and eat KFC and like a bunch of shit, like very unhealthy junk food as well. And so I was eating a lot of meat, but there was a lot of other things that just kept me from being actually healthy.
So, how did you feel about your life back then?
Well, not very good. I was quite insecure about the way I looked. I was trying a lot of different medications for my acne, topical products, routines. Um, yeah, it wasn't a good time.
So, you kind of mentioned that you were trying some stuff, things like maybe applying some creams on your face or whatever. Can you kind of talk about maybe some things you tried that you think didn't really work for you?
Sure. So I was using like a daily facial scrub, moisturizer, salicylic acid serums, things that basically just the normal skincare routine kind of pathway, and basically just stripping my face down and then moisturizing it with some synthetic products or whatever. And also, I tried many different types of face washes. None of them made the difference whatsoever.
So, would it be fair to say that you tried these methods and they didn't work for you? So, you decided to look for some other methods, and then eventually you found the diet that you are eating now?
Yeah, you could say that that was what prompted me to do, the deep dive that I've done, and then eventually form the philosophy around diet and around health and around fixing, acne and gut issues that I have now.
Mhm. So, can you quickly talk about what kind of diet are you eating right now?
Sure. So I eat a diet which consists of mostly raw ruminant meats. So I eat a lot of raw beef, I eat a lot of raw lamb, and I include some cooked foods here and there. But the majority of my diet is just raw meat and raw dairy. That's basically it.
So this kind of diet to a lot of people is pretty ridiculous. Why did you want to? How did you come across this diet, and why did you eventually want to give it a try?
So not to be some kind of hero kind of story, but I was basically one day just cooking my steak, and I thought I don't know, it'd be funny to try it raw because I saw some I don't know, I saw some people online doing it. I didn't really know what it was about. So I saw some people online doing it. I didn't think it was even anything to do with health. So I just took a bite of it because I thought it'd be funny, and I was like, it doesn't actually taste bad. At the time, I was never actually worried about, bacteria or getting sick from these animals, especially from eating beef, because I'd always, not always, but at the time I was eating my steaks rare or even blue rare. I would just cook my steaks and I would see that it's still raw and even cold inside, and I would be like, I can't be bothered to cook it again. I'll just eat it and tastes fine anyway. So I I didn't fear bacteria, or I didn't have kind of the programming in my mind inhibiting me from trying it. But yeah, it felt good. And then I came across some more people online talking about it. I got added to group chats. I started posting myself, doing a little bit. I had no knowledge at the time whatsoever. Basically, I was just trying anything, literally anything that would make me look better, make me feel better, because I was just so desperate. And then I found this community. There's this community of people who actually just ate raw meat, and I was like, okay. And I started going in, researching about bacteria, finding out the myths, all these myths that are debunked now about bacteria, about raw foods. And that allowed me to get into it more and start committing committing to eating just raw foods more. And then eventually I started to just crave raw foods only and move away from cooked food a lot.
So you mentioned that you came across some people that were eating raw meat. I didn't mention that you are from Australia, but let's just use Australia as an example. How many people do you think have seen other people that eat raw meat?
How many people in Australia have seen people online that eat raw meat?
Just how many people know this is a thing? There are actually some people that eat a raw meat diet.
I would say less than 10,000 people in Australia. Well, actually, that's not true at all. No, probably less than 100,000 people in Australia. So very little. It doesn't have a lot of. It's not very popular at all.
Okay. So basically, in the beginning, you were just kind of eating raw meat for fun, because at the time you were already eating rare meat. And then, what would you say is the main reason that made you transform your health? Or a main event
that made me want to transform my health? Do you mean?
Start to actually eat the diet that you are eating now.
Do you mean something bad that happened that maybe wanted to change? Kind of.
Yeah, because it sounds like you were just kind of experimenting. And I guess in the beginning you didn't know you were going to become healthier. And when was the moment that you start to... So did you become healthier by accident? Or you were convinced by certain information and then you started commit to the diet, and then you was able to experience the transformation you did?
Yeah, well, I looked into it a little bit more, found out about nutrient loss that happens from cooking food, found out about bacteria being beneficial for your gut health. All bacteria, there's no bad or good bacteria, is what I concluded from what I've seen. And I saw people transforming their health by eating this way as well, on top of the research that I did on my own.
That makes sense. So a lot of people, obviously, they are going to think raw meat has a lot of bacteria, has a lot of parasites. I'm pretty sure you used to have similar beliefs. What kind of information made you change the way you feel about this topic?
Yeah, so I started looking into a man named Arjunus Planets, who had supposedly done studies proving that bacteria isn't harmful. And then later on, I looked to actual documented literature, finding that none of these germ theories, none of these claims around bacteria have actually been proven, because when the germ theory came about, it was by a man named Louis Pasteur, and he had these, and Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch, and Robert Koch, he had these guidelines, or these qualifications to actually classify a microorganism as a pathogen. So these were called Koch's postulates. And when I looked into what had actually been studied about bacteria such as Salmonella or E. coli, none of these bacteria actually even met the standards to be called pathogenic in the first place, according to the exact guy who created the the germ theory. None of these bacteria actually meet Koch's postulates, because one of them is that they can't be present in any human who's healthy. And when we look at studies done on populations who host these bacteria like Salmonella, the majority of them aren't affected by symptoms that have been placed onto these bacteria. So that just kind of rules out these bacteria as being pathogenic. If we want to actually look at the use the standards of the founder of germ theory, none of these bacteria have actually ever been proven to cause disease whatsoever.
Do you think most people are going to be convinced by the information you shared?
No, I think there's a big barrier within their mind, and most people probably don't have kind of the motivation that I had to be convinced by it, because most people do suffer from health problems, they just don't have the drive to change it. Maybe people around them also have the same issues and they are fine with feeling average. I was never like that. I was never fine with feeling average. I always wanted to, find my potential and be better than everyone if it was possible. I don't know, that's just how I am. But I think most people have too much of a mental barrier to ever be convinced by it. Even if they see the studies for themselves and they understand it, I think most people will never actually be able to accept it. And most people don't have the mental capacity to be able to even want to care about this kind of thing. If they see a study, they'll be like, oh yeah, okay. And then they won't even it won't even clock in their mind that we've been lied to about these things. They won't even care. They'll just go on with their life, eat whatever they want, keep getting sicker and sicker, because there's just something that keeps them in their little box.
Okay, nice. So I would like you to talk about the transformation you went through. Let me phrase my question again. I would like you to talk about how your health was in the past and what kind of transformation you saw after you started to eat a raw animal-based diet.
Sure. So at first my acne actually got worse. All right. So I actually started to look worse at first, and I think that was because transitioning to this diet, I had a lot of toxicity stored within my body that had to get removed, and eliminating a lot of foods made my body not so used to being sick anymore. So if I was to eat a food that I hadn't eliminated yet, it would trigger my symptoms even more. So my acne actually started to get worse, but then I started eliminating food slowly, and slowly isolating what actually humans need to eat based on my own, how my body responded. And because I was extremely prone to acne, like even now, I can eat something which most people would think is healthy and it would trigger my acne. That's how prone I am to acne. So that's how causal, that's how definite I can be about a food that gives me acne. So that's how I actually isolated different foods that give me acne over time. And it was a long process doing this because just because of how prone I am, I didn't have as much flexibility like most people do. But eventually I realized that most foods that people eat and most foods that are available, even most whole foods, would actually give me acne and give me digestive issues. The only thing that doesn't give me acne is basically meat and raw dairy. Those are the only two things that don't give me any issues whatsoever. And fruits can be, I've found that fruits can be a part of my diet to an extent, to a point. But if I binge on them too much, and if they have any pesticides at all, like even if they're organic, they still have pesticides. If I don't go to a farmer and get spray-free fruit, even that will trigger my acne. So it was a long journey getting rid of this acne because of how prone I was to it. But I'm thankful now that I went through this long journey that took me a year, well, it's been a year now. So I've come a long way in this last year. And, I'm thankful that I went through all the struggle, which most people never would have had to experience, cutting out every single food possible to be able to see what was actually the problem. And then after doing, research into actually what caused these issues in the first place, I could actually back up my own anecdotal findings with proper biochemistry and see, yeah, this is why this gave me an issue. Now I can actually apply that to someone else's health if they have such, severe acne like me. And so I'm glad that I went through this because now, otherwise I wouldn't be able to apply such knowledge to other people and help other people fix their health.
Yeah, I want to hear your transformation. So can you just talk about your unhealthy state and then the results you saw in yourself, like your physical health and mental health?
Yeah, so as I've said, I had a lot of acne all over my face and I had a lot of digestive issues. And then coming onto the diet, it didn't immediately get worse, but now my skin is completely clear for the most part, compared to most people at least. And if I do get any kind of spots, then I know exactly what it's from because I've gone through a long isolation process of figuring out what foods cause me acne. And, a lot more mental clarity now, which can be attributed to things like cutting out certain gut irritants, which can cause brain fog, and certain things which cause inflammation and causing a lot of oxidative stress in the brain. And, now I have really fast growing long hair, which is I don't wash my hair at all. It's never smelly. It's never overly oily. It's never dry. It's just because what I eat, I don't smell as well. I literally just don't shower. I don't wear deodorant. I don't shower. Nobody ever tells me I smell at all. I don't smell. I don't, my hair doesn't smell. Because of what I eat, things that people think are normal, inconveniences for people that are normal, I just don't have those issues anymore,
Nice. That's very interesting. Well, a couple of things I want to get into. So first of all, how is your digestion now, eating this raw animal-based diet?
Yeah, so when I'm actually eating exactly how I know we should, there's zero kind of bloating or uncomfortability whatsoever when I eat just only raw meat and raw milk, there's zero issues whatsoever with my, like, I don't even feel anything in my gut. I don't get any gas whatsoever. I, it's just all comfortable. Like, I don't even think about it. I don't have, like, when I eat cooked food, if I was to eat cooked food, I would feel it very heavy in my stomach sitting for a while, and I would feel very full. But eating raw meat, I don't feel full, but I do feel extremely satiated. So I don't have to eat for a long time, but I don't feel full and heavy in my stomach because it digests extremely easily because it has all of the natural enzymes to help digest it, to support digestion. And I don't have any of the symptoms I used to have, like diarrhea or any constipation, any bloating whatsoever.
What do you think most people think will happen to your digestion if you eat raw animal foods?
Well, they think that you'll get food poisoning symptoms and then basically just have a lot of diarrhea, or not eating enough fiber, you'll get constipation. But this is just not true at all. These are both myths in the nutrition space, that you need fiber to support your digestion. It's just indigestible plant matter. It just makes you shit more because you have more waste. And for the bacteria, that's never actually caused an issue for anyone because bacteria can't poison you. There's no detoxification from bacteria, which happens in the body. The only time you would have diarrhea from food is if you actually consume, a large amount of toxins or poisons, which triggers detoxification pathways, mechanisms.
Okay. So do you not eat vegetables now? And what are your thoughts on vegetables?
No, I don't eat vegetables. I think that vegetables are quite inflammatory to humans. They're quite toxic in a way. They do contain a lot of plant defense chemicals because as plants, they can't run away or fight like animals do. And they need to protect themselves from herbivores, from insects. So they have a lot of natural insecticides. Things like oxalates, phytates, tannins, polyphenols. These compounds are really inflammatory. They cause a lot of issues in the gut. They can actually, put holes in your gut and kill a lot of your gut microbiome. And there's nothing in plants or vegetables that you can't get from meat as a human. They're definitely not, necessary to have in your diet. And I've known that for a long time. For probably 2.5 years now, I've known that you don't need to eat vegetables to be healthy. And now I've come to the realization that you actually probably don't want to eat vegetables to be properly healthy because they can cause people a lot of issues with those plant defense chemicals.
Great. So right now you eat a raw animal-based diet without vegetables. For people that think you are going to become insanely constipated or you are going to be ridiculous, you are going to have crazy diarrhea or shed out parasites, is there anything you would like to say to them?
Yeah, of course. The notion that we need fiber to regulate our digestion is just based on associations between people and a standard Western diet, and very weak studies which show fiber can aid digestion, which is it's not really backed solidly. But when we look at actually good studies where they remove fiber from the diet, what's like completely with patients who have irritable bowel syndrome, when we remove fiber partly or at all, the symptoms go away completely. So there's actually no constipation, bloating, bloody diarrhea like they had before. When we remove fiber from the diet, all of that goes away. And for shitting out parasites or having diarrhea, whatever, these parasites, again, have never been proven to actually cause disease in humans. Just like in any other animal, every animal, every healthy animal has parasites in the wild. And these parasites are bioremediators in the body. They actually clean up waste and heal diseases. And people who have been inoculated with parasites in studies, for example, with helminths, which are worms, okay, so like tapeworms, people who are inoculated with tapeworms in studies who have autoimmune diseases, these diseases, all symptoms of these diseases go away. Like 5 out of 6, uh, the symptoms go away completely for things like allergies and Crohn's and asthma. These parasites heal those in these controlled studies. So yeah, this fiber and parasite fear mongering is just very, it's a misunderstanding completely, and it's not backed by any solid evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting to me. How do you think most people are going to feel about what you just said?
Uh, y- they won't have a response which is logical. They'll probably say something insulting to me, or say that I'm, going crazy, or make some kind of joke because they just don't have the knowledge, they don't have the understanding like I do. And by all means, I'm not the most well-read person in this space for sure. There are people who have done this for many, many years, and I still have much to learn, but I definitely have enough to be able to understand these things myself and understand the nuance behind all of these different myths.
Nice. Do you consume raw eggs right now?
Yeah, so if I can find eggs which aren't fed corn and soy and they're pasture raised, then I will have the egg yolk raw. So I'll put the egg yolk maybe on some beef and make steak tartare. That's something I like doing. But I don't eat the egg white.
Great. Okay. And is it because of like, so people think that if you consume raw egg white, maybe it can give you some hair loss issues. Is it because of that?
No, nothing to do with hair loss. Consuming the raw egg white will bind up different enzymes which are responsible for digestion of protein. So they actually have protease inhibitors in them, such as ovomucide and ovostatin, and that can actually inhibit digestion quite significantly, especially if paired with other foods, and puts more of a load on your pancreas to actually secrete digestive enzymes. And I'm not worried about biotin deficiency like most people say, but there is, there is the avidin in the egg white which can bind up biotin. Not that it's very significant, and you're actually going to become deficient by consuming a few egg whites, but it's a bit of an opportunity cost in my opinion, and there's not really any reason to consume the egg whites. They're quite disgusting in my opinion, and none of the protein in there is actually properly bioavailable while they're raw.
So, how long would you say you have been eating your raw animal-based diet now?
So I started eating raw meat about a year ago, and I've been consistent with it. Um, Probably the last 6 months I've been extremely consistent, and where I've seen the most change in my health. Maybe the last 8 months, and that's when I've actually gained most of my knowledge. Before that, I was just kind of experimenting, but then I actually was spending hours and hours a day researching why this happens, and uh, why this disease happens, and because of what, and how we can actually fix this, and why, like, all of the mechanisms behind everything in nutrition was what I was learning. So that kind of allowed me to find a diet that I wanted to stick consistently to. So that's probably been the last like 10 months that I've been having like a consistent diet. But I started to eat this way about a year ago.
Okay, great. So, over your 1 year of raw animal-based diet journey, have you ever get your body checked? Because this is what a lot of people are like interested in. They want to know if you have parasites.
No, I've never done a check for parasites, but I've never had any, kind of symptoms which are commonly associated with parasites or whatever, or disease caused by parasites. I've done a little bit of blood work, which was completely fine. My LDL was a little higher compared to what the doctor would like it to be. But that's a completely different topic.
Based on what you are saying, do you think it's better for your body to have parasites?
I do think with a toxic body, it is good to have parasites to help heal any damage done by terrible diets and bad environments that people have been in. Often there's a lot of diseased tissue, and often people do actually have chronic issues which could be healed by parasites. But I don't think parasites are actually necessary for any kind of process in the body, except for a little bit of bioremediation. You don't really need to have parasites all the time. That's why you see, healthy bears, they eat a lot of salmon, so they're getting a lot of parasites, but most of them, it just comes out of them. Like you'll be watching National Geographic and see a bear, and you'll just see a bunch of parasites come out the back of it. So it's not like it's actually losing anything when it's losing the parasites, but clearly not causing any disease either.
Nice. Are there some other common myths that people have around eating raw animal foods that you would like to talk about now? I have went over like pretty many, but if there's like some that you want to like talk about.
Do you mean like that normal people would think about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so people often will say that food is more bioavailable when it's cooked, or cooking food helps humans to evolve. And there's really no evidence for this whatsoever. The only thing that I will grant is that certain collagen peptides become more bioavailable when they're cooked. And this makes sense, for how humans eat food, because we even if you think about historically, and even thinking about processing an animal now, there are certain parts of the animal which you can't eat raw. You just have to cook it to get anything out of it. And this kind of makes sense with what the literature says about these collagen peptides being bioavailable when they're cooked. So things like oxtail, things like bone broth kind of allowed us to get more out of the animal. But by no means is it necessary to cook your food, or by no means was cooking food a large part of human evolution. Because for the most part, when you're eating an animal, when you're eating parts of the animal, it's all going to be bioavailable raw. Like if you're eating muscle meat, if you're eating organs, if you're eating bone marrow, if you're eating fat, all of that's going to be completely bioavailable. The only time that cooking might actually benefit, some kind of nutrient absorption would be in rare cuts like oxtail, or maybe, shank like ossobuco. But, these are very small parts of the diet, and I think it's not necessary at all to cook food. And even if there are certain little amounts of peptides that become more bioavailable in foods, like the tiny amount of sinew on a cut of meat, for the most part, cooking is going to retain the nutrients that you need, like creatine and taurine and a lot of amino acids, which are quite heat sensitive. And the enzymes that come along with the food will aid digestion, so there's not as much load on your system to digest it. And the nutrient absorption is going to be much better.
Nice. Okay. It's good that you got into that.
Thanks.
So I want to understand your perspectives a little more. Do you think cooked animal foods are always inferior than raw animal foods?
I wouldn't necessarily say so. I would say, well, actually, let me just think about how I'm going to answer this.
You can take your time.
Okay. Yeah, I would say for the most part, cooked foods would be inferior to raw animal foods, just because you're losing so many of those nutrients, like, up to 70% of some nutrients, even if you cook it, or when you cook foods when you cook foods well done, you're losing like majority of the nutrients, like especially the water soluble ones, and in some studies we can see even fat soluble vitamins you lose like over half of them, like vitamin A or vitamin D, and vitamin E, vitamin K2. So you're losing over half of these nutrients, and you're losing like 100% of certain nutrients which are very beneficial, like creatine and taurine, and you're losing, you know, almost 100% of vitamin C. That's why some people can get scurvy from eating, you know, only overcooked meats. But if you're eating raw meat, you're never going to get scurvy because of the vitamin C content. It's just, you know, still there when it's raw, but it's cooked out. And cooking food creates a lot of toxins on the meat, even though a lot of them are destroyed in the stomach acid or they just store in the gut. It still creates kind of a detoxification load on the body. And yeah, just overall, everything about raw food is pretty much better for the most part, except for some rare cases like some certain cuts of meat.
Can you talk about how do you feel eating raw meat versus eating cooked meat?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. When I eat cooked meat, my digestion load is very heavy. I can feel it sitting in my stomach for hours on end. My energy is not as high. I'm not as motivated. I get lethargic and feel dehydrated sometimes because, likely because a lot of the minerals are cooked out of the food. And if you're adding salt to it as well, that further creates an imbalance of minerals because of the high sodium content, and then you're cooking a lot of the natural potassium out of the meat. And yeah, I just feel very vitalized on raw meat. It's what I crave for the most part. Feel super energized, super happy and confident in myself, and you know, very driven and motivated, unlike when I'm eating only cooked meat.
Nice, interesting. So for some people, maybe they are like, I'm starting to think that eating a raw animal-based diet can be beneficial to me. I'm interested in giving it a try. So here's my next question for you. If someone wants to go from eating a normal diet to one more time. If someone wants to go from eating a normal diet to eating a raw animal-based diet, and they want to always know what to do, what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, so first thing I would say, start eating some easily digested raw animal products, like raw egg yolks and, you know, maybe some rare steaks. But I would say for the most part, the biggest thing would to be first transition to eating a lot more animal foods on their own. It doesn't matter if they're raw. This will allow your gut microbiome to actually adapt to eating mostly animal flesh, animal products, rather than consuming a lot of carbohydrates and starch, because what you eat and, you know, the different foods that enter your gut they feed different bacteria, so the population of bacteria is going to be very skewed. So you have to kind of transition that for 5 to 8 weeks before you can fully commit to it. So I would say slowly adding in more fatty animal meat and removing more carbohydrates, especially starchy carbohydrates and refined sugars. This will allow the gut microbiome to actually change so that you don't suffer from a lot of bad effects from, you know, suddenly changing. And then once you've done that 5 to 8 weeks transition of going from lots of carbohydrates, lots of starch, lots of refined sugars, to now eating mostly animal flesh and fat. So most of your macronutrients are going to be coming from protein and fat. Then you can actually think about, you know, whether you want to incorporate raw foods. And you can do this quite easily if you actually do that slow transition of your microbiome. It doesn't really matter, you know, how quickly you transition to raw foods.
I want to know how strict you are with your diet. So when was the last time you ate junk food?
It depends what classifies as junk food.
Yeah, you can talk about your perspectives.
Yeah, the last time I ate, you know, regular junk food was probably probably a year ago. To be honest, like it's just that much of an issue for me that it would never be worth it.
Okay. Let's see. Do you think junk food tastes good?
It depends what it would be. I mean, in my head, sometimes if I would think about it or if I would smell it, walk past it, I would imagine that it would taste good. But the last time I had junk food, which was probably about a year ago, it just wasn't worth the taste, like the effects that the toll that it had on my health and my body. Now with my diet, I basically like now that I have everything figured out, I'm not incredibly dogmatic about everything that I eat. Like I basically have the rule that I can eat, a little bit different as long as I actually still feel healthy, as long as my face doesn't break out, as long as I don't have digestive issues. But that is very slim. But I can't really deviate much from eating 100% meat and raw dairy, even doing that. So I would say, I'm quite strict about it.
Can you talk about what do you usually look for when you are sourcing your food?
Certainly, yeah. So I always look for meats that have been raised on, like the animals have been raised on pasture, like grass-fed and finished beef, grass-fed and finished lamb. That's basically the majority of my diet. If I was to eat chicken raw or pork raw, it would also be pasture-raised and fed known medications, but that's incredibly hard to find. There's only one store around me, which I know that sells that. It's quite far away from me, actually. So yeah, I basically just look for grass-fed and finished ruminant animals. It's the easiest and the most reliable and, the safest. You can be sure that it won't make you sick compared to pork and chicken, which you really have to be very, very, you have to be very sure about the quality of it before you actually eat it raw. And for eggs, again, pasture-raised, corn and soy-free. And for raw dairy, I just look for A2 dairy, and so it comes from Jersey cows. Those are the A2 cows, because the A2 protein is a lot less inflammatory in the gut, a lot easier to digest, and of course grass-fed and finished. Like they're just living on pasture. They're not in feedlots. They're not getting medications. That's basically it. So you want to make sure that the animals are healthy. They're outside and they're not getting fed things which are going to get into the produce and actually poison you like a lot of animals would, like from pork.
Nice. Do you often go to like a actual farm to get your food?
Very rarely. I mean, the place that I live, there are basically no farms, unfortunately. So I will basically go to butchers or Whole Food stores to get my produce. But I have been to farms before, and it's a much nicer feeling. You get to see where your food actually comes from. You get to see the beautiful land, and even though maybe it's more expensive sometimes, maybe it costs less. I don't know, but even if it costs more, it's kind of worth meeting the farmer, knowing where your food actually comes from instead of just trusting a label. But yeah, so if I had the chance to do that often, then I would definitely choose to go to the farm and pick up my meat, but I just don't.
Nice. So as a raw animal, let me say one more time. As a raw meat eater, are there certain cuts of meat that you prefer?
Yeah, I like to eat rump. That is probably what I eat for the most time. Just because it's not overly expensive and has a good amount of fat on it and not a lot of sinew to chew. So I also really enjoy eating like lamb loin, which is basically the T-bone of the lamb, which includes, the New York strip and the backstrap or the tenderloin. It's, a very fatty cut. I prefer to eat very fatty cuts or very fatty cuts that don't have a lot of sinew, or very lean cuts, and I would make some, steak tartare out of that and pair it with some other fat, like maybe raw butter or raw egg yolks. So I'd say rump and probably tenderloin are my favorites.
Nice. Do you ever eat frozen meat?
I try to avoid it for the most part. People will make a lot, like have a big fuss about frozen meat more than I think they should. And this is just because a lot of them don't actually dive into the literature themselves and understand um, the effects of freezing meat for themselves. They kind of just parrot off whatever, these big kind of authority figures in the community say, such as Arginus or Goatis. But for the most part, freezing, if you freeze something for a couple hours, is not really going to destroy any. It's very negligible the amount of nutrients that are going to get destroyed. It's more so an issue if you're eating meat that is frozen for multiple weeks on end. That's when you're actually going to see like a lot of the enzymes disappear and a lot of the nutrients and proteins are denatured. But if it's frozen for like a day, it really doesn't matter. But no, I try to avoid eating frozen meat. It tastes a lot better when it's fresh and it does preserve the nutrients for the most part. I mean, it does preserve the nutrients even if it's not very significant from a couple of days freezing.
Sounds good. So basically, you are saying that you don't eat frozen meat mainly because you prefer the taste of normal meat.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have this question. If you had all the resources in the world, as a raw meat eater, what would your diet look like?
Oh, okay, that's a very good question. My diet would probably look like eating strictly beef tenderloin and raw butter, and a lot of caviar, and probably a lot of expensive wild seafood like oysters and the exotic shit. Yeah, probably for the most part, very expensive cuts of beef, high quality raw dairy, and then a lot of expensive wild seafood. That's what it would look like.
Okay, I need to ask you a controversial question. What are your thoughts on eating humans?
Oh, definitely against the interests of the human race, I would say. Are you asking me nutritionally or just philosophically what I think about it?
I mean, I'm not really like focusing on morality. So, yeah, I guess I was more like asking you about, do you think it's healthy?
No, if you were to eat a human eating like living a modern life today, it would be quite unhealthy because humans are basically they have like it's comparable to pigs. How toxic the meat would be because of the environment we're living in and because of the diets we have.
Nice. So, what's your stance on this? Like, do you think it's very wrong to eat humans? So I want to know more about like your morality, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would do it myself if that's what you're asking. It's it's certainly against the interest of the human race, and that's something I'm very pro. I'm very pro human, so um, I would definitely avoid eating someone in my own species unless it was extremely necessary for survival. Some very rare case where I'm on an island starving and there's just some random guy who I have no feelings for. That's a very different scenario. But yeah, no, I think as a general rule, we should avoid eating our own species. I mean, I think that's just common sense. That's what every species does. We protect our own species first, and then other species we can eat. But to serve our own purpose, we need to protect our own species.
Nice. I want to know like how much meat do you usually buy in one go?
Not as much as I should. I mean, I'm doing kind of like 2 trips to the store a week, which just kind of gets inconvenient. I probably will buy like maybe 4 kilos of meat at once, and then that doesn't really last me very long. Like maybe like 3 days at the most.
And do you usually just put your food in the fridge?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you like avoid eating raw meat that has been sitting in the fridge for like over certain days?
If it tastes fine, then I eat it. I'm not really concerned about anything.
So like you just maybe feel if you want to eat it. So if it feels off, you are not going to eat it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to get sick from it, but yeah, if it feels off, if it smells off or it looks unappetizing, I'm not going to eat it just out of following my own intuition. But I will say, for people who have histamine intolerance or are very sensitive to histamine, they should kind of avoid eating meat that has been sitting for more than a couple of days because even if it doesn't smell off or it's not fermented, there is going to be some bacteria which is converting histidine into histamine, and that can cause issues for a lot of people. So if you're prone to histamine issues and histamine intolerance, then that's the only kind of instance that you should worry about the how like fresh your meat is, like very autistically. But other than that, it doesn't really matter that much.
Nice. Let me see. So I know you have a special workstation that allows you to always work on your computer outside, if I'm not mistaken. So can you kind of talk about what the station allows you to do? And why do you want to have this station?
Yeah, I mean, I did have that for a little bit. Unfortunately I don't have the capability to do it anymore for the time being. But the reason that I made that video and the reason that I did attempt to work like that for a time is just because sitting at the computer, staring at a flickering screen of artificial light, radiating a lot of EMF, is going to cause your body a lot of issues. And ways that we can mitigate that is being outside in the natural light, where the depth of field is changing all the time. So you can look around, and your iris actually has to adjust so that your iris has to adjust to everything we're seeing around you. The lens has to adjust shape, and if your eyes lose the ability to adjust quickly to different depths, that's when we see problems like nearsightedness appear from people staring at a computer or phone right in front of them all the time. That's why working outside is very beneficial for your eyesight. At the same time, being grounded to the earth is going to allow you to absorb a lot of free electrons, which are going to combat a lot of the negative effects of the EMF. So a lot of ROS and oxidative stress happening in your body. These free electrons are going to act as antioxidants to combat a lot of those effects from the EMFs. And being outside in the sun, or at least being able to see the natural light, is going to allow like much stronger light signals to override the artificial light signals that you're getting from the screen. But the reason I had that set up for the most part was because at the time I wasn't able to use wired internet. So I was using Wi-Fi on my computer. So I was just trying to mitigate the EMFs for the most part by being grounded. But now my workstation, I have wired internet, and I have a massive window in front of my computer. So I'm not worried about the issues with depth, the field of depth. Oops. Because I have the big window, the natural light coming in, and I'm not getting a lot of EMF because I avoid sitting at my computer when it's plugged in, and at the same time I use wired internet, so there's like very, very low amount of EMF that I'm receiving, and I'm getting a lot of natural light from the window as well.
Okay, let's move on to some controversial things you have done. Do you know what I'm going to talk about?
That doesn't really narrow it down, saying controversial things that I've done.
So, you have eaten raw chicken at a vegan campaign, right?
I have, yeah, that's correct.
Can you talk about what made you want to do that?
It was just a lot of, the main reason I did that was to get a lot of views and to get a lot of attention. I'll just say how it is. I was just attention seeking basically, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it did get me a lot of followers and it did spark controversy. That's what I like doing. I like sparking controversy and I like provoking thought in people's minds. And I'm sure I did a lot of that during that day. And, you know, I was kind of sick of those vegans in the middle of my city, just with their loudspeakers playing cows mooing, like cows groaning all day, ruining people's Saturdays. So I wanted to kind of go and push back on that. And I'm not really worried about veganism becoming bigger now. It's kind of been shut down by the majority of the population. It was kind of a failed movement. But I just thought it would be funny. I thought it would get me a lot of views, and it was, you know, it was a fun time. I had a lot of fun, and it did get me a lot of followers on my YouTube. So, you know, that was basically it. And yeah, it was just fun. It was funny.
Nice, nice. I appreciate your honesty. Let's see. Did you face any confrontations when you were doing that?
No, a lot of people, basically, it was just a lot of people shouting at, like, that's gross or whatever, or I'm a psychopath or something, but nothing really bad came about because of that.
Do you think you can ever put yourself in danger doing that kind of activity?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Something like that can be, you know, being provocative and having your own opinion in general just puts you in danger in today's society. But I wasn't really worried about the danger of being around, you know, little, skinny, unhealthy vegans. And I had, you know, I had people around me. I had friends, so.
And I think you have eaten raw pigeons before.
Yeah, one time I was, you know, going around the city trying to like troll vegans, and I found this pigeon on the floor, and I thought it would be funny if I took a bite of it. I honestly, I don't like. I wish I didn't do that, because a lot of the attention I got from that was, you know, kind of the attention that I wouldn't want. Like, I don't want to be known as the guy who ate a raw pigeon in the city. I want to be the guy who eats, you know, the crazy guy who eats raw meat but looks super healthy. I don't want to be the guy, you know, who goes around eating pigeons in the city. So, yeah, I kind of wished I didn't do that, but it did, you know, get me a lot of attention, which was what I was looking for, I guess. But I just want to clarify, like, that I didn't think it was healthy. I basically didn't even eat any of it. It was just, you know, for the video.
Okay. And why do you say it's not healthy to eat that?
Well, it's an animal that's been living in an extremely toxic environment. You know, they just eat the scraps of what people leave on the ground, and what people are eating is extremely toxic. And, you know, a pigeon being a bird, it's going to store a lot of those toxins and, you know, be quite a toxic animal that might get you sick. The only reason that I was willing to kind of do that and take a bite out of the wing or whatever is just because it was just very lean muscle. Like, none of the toxins are really stored in the muscle. So I thought, you know, the risk to reward of me, the risk is very low for the reward of a lot of attention. So I thought that might be actually like kind of a good thing. And it was funny. Like, I was with my friends, we were having a good time, and it was funny. But yeah, it did get me a lot of kind of like weird attention from kids online, and like people IRL, they'd just be like, didn't you eat a pigeon in the city or something? Which is kind of annoying, but it, you know, it's not a big deal at the end of the day. And yeah, I was fine. I felt completely fine after it.
Nice, nice. Did you feel afraid at all when you were about to eat that pigeon?
Oh, no. I mean,
Okay.
it was just, yeah, I mean, afraid like I was going to get sick or
Yes.
what? No. I wasn't
Okay.
scared about it.
Great. Because like you did your evaluation, you were like eating lean meat, right?
Yeah, I was just eating the
I
muscle.
guess.
There's not really anything. It
Mm.
would be an issue. Definitely, I would if I was eating some of the blood or eating, some of the organs like the liver. But eating just a piece of the leg is not gonna cause any issue.
Okay, great, great. I, I'm not sure if you already talked about this, but I would like you to dive deeper into like lean meat being less toxic compared to like fat.
Yeah. So when you absorb toxins, they need to be detoxed. But with a heavy detox load, this is for any animal with a heavy detox load, like a lot of animals would have in feedlots and in these barns where they get fed a lot of toxic, unhealthy feed. The liver will always convert toxins into fat soluble toxins, and this allows them to be excreted, but also if there's so much that it can't be excreted, these go and store in the fat, or they get caught in the organs if they're circulating around. So because they store in the fat and the organs, especially the bone marrow, um, there's nothing actually getting stored in the muscle. The muscle tissue is very benign. There's none of these toxins getting sent to the muscle to be stored because they're actually fat soluble. So with lean meat, there's nowhere for the toxins to actually store. So there'll be like, so for an example, if there's like a very lean animal, like a pigeon, um, a lot of the toxins will be stored in the organs because there's not really any fat on that. There's no fat between the muscle fibers. It's very lean, so there's not really any potential for food poisoning from eating the lean meat because those toxins are actually fat soluble and they store in the fat.
Nice. Do you think it's better to eat an unhealthy animal's cooked meat or raw meat?
Um, Definitely cooked because it's not worth getting food poisoning. You're not going to absorb any of the nutrients if you have to detox from it, if you have to vomit or shit it out.
Okay. You kind of talked about your stance on veganism. I want to talk more about this. So, um, yeah, can you talk more about what do you think about veganism? The idea of not exploiting animals, avoiding eating animal products.
Yeah, well, it's kind of it's very anti-human, because it's worrying about the interests of other species over our own, which completely goes against our own species. Okay, so it's very anti-human, and so a lot of the moral claims that they have don't actually stand because it's immoral, in the first place, to put the interests of other animals above our own. So they can see it as moral, but at the end of the day, if we think about morals as benefiting the human race, it's very immoral to be vegan, rather than putting the human race first. Um, yeah, so it's a very logical way of thinking, and it's very altruistic, and it's of course very unhealthy, and but it's something that is not really taken off. It's been kind of shut down by the population in the last 10 years, and not allowed to go any further than it has, just because there's something in humans that really wants to eat meat, even if it's a burger cooked in seed oils from McDonald's. There's something in humans that really doesn't, they don't want to be told they can't eat meat. That's how strongly people know instinctively that we have to eat meat.
I think many vegans say that you can be healthy eating a vegan diet. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, a lot of vegans will say that they became healthy after switching to a vegan diet, and I can probably say I will probably believe them because a lot of these vegans for the majority of these vegans, they switch from, you know, eating a lot of junk food, a lot of processed foods, a lot of, you know, sugar, and they switch to eating, you know, sugar and carbohydrates, but from whole foods that don't have a lot of industrial additives. And at the same time, they have a big healthy user bias on them, because getting to these vegan spaces, they're getting into a lot of other things as well, like natural clothing, like grounding, like getting sun exposure. So them transitioning to this kind of religion might make them healthier, but it's definitely not because of the food. And, you know, well, it could be to some extent, because depending on what their diet was before. But a lot of times vegans might say they feel healthier. A lot of these problems went away after I went vegan, and they just can't seem to comprehend that it might not be because they cut out meat. It might be because they cut out processed refined seed oils, which contain a lot of oxidation end products. It might be because they cut out industrial additives, which are potentially carcinogenic, and, you know, things like polysorbate 80 and artificial sweeteners and red 40, things like this, that just completely strip the gut of the mucus lining and kill all the microbiome. And now they switch to eating, you know, whole food plants, which is a lot better than these additives, but at the same time, they're malnourishing themselves. Maybe they're even getting less nutrition than they were on the modern diet, but maybe they still feel better because they just don't have, you know, as much of a load of toxins coming into them. At the same time, they're doing a lot of other they're incorporating a lot of healthy habits to go along with this vegan diet, because they're suddenly conscious about their health. And that's what we can call a healthy user bias, where, you know, they say they feel healthier because of the diet, but it's actually that they're just more conscious about health, and they're doing a lot more for their health than just the diet.
Nice. I know your dietary beliefs right now are definitely much different from the way they were before. So I want to kind of talk about your belief in the past. So can you kind of talk about what was your relationship with eating meat, eating vegetables, eating junk food, things like these, when you were like growing up?
So when I was a child, I was always fed meat as a part of the meal. That was something, for the most part, that my parents kind of knew. But of course, it was very overcooked. It was a small portion of meat, and I was always told that I would have to eat my vegetables, otherwise, you know, I wouldn't be strong, I wouldn't be developed. And it's, you know, it's ironic that vegetables actually bind the minerals that you need to become strong and developed. But anyhow, yeah, I always just kind of went along with it. And then probably about 2.5, 3 years ago, I came across a lot of talk about plants' defense chemicals, and then kind of did some, you know, started questioning whether there is actually any nutrition that you can't get from. I kind of thought, you know, you can have meat and fruit and be fully healthy. Like, you have everything from meat, and then you just have vitamin C from fruit. That's kind of how I was thinking about 2.5, 3 years ago. I've kind of knew that you didn't have to eat vegetables to be healthy. That's kind of when I started realizing that. And, you know, when my parents started calling me crazy and everything, just because they weren't very educated themselves, or they were miseducated. Yeah, that was the first time I kind of started straying from the mainstream in my beliefs about nutrition. And then now, of course, that I can see clearly that as a human, you really just want to eat meat, and you don't need to eat plants. And I would say you probably don't want to eat plants if you have a lot of health issues, or even if you know, care completely about your longevity and how you feel, and, you know, having absolute vitality and health.
Did you eat a raw lamb head at school?
No, that wasn't at school. It was in the city, at a couple of vegan events.
Wow, interesting. So like you join some vegan events and then you bring out the lamb head?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's how do you join that kind of event? Do you need to like pay?
So it was supposed to be ticketed. But before when I was planning to do it, it was planned to be at like a public park, so I could just go and sit and do whatever I wanted, and just sit around. I wouldn't have to pay or be trespassed or whatever. But the plans changed, and because of the rain, because of the weather, so it ended up being in this private space, and I was escorted out and they threatened to call the police on me. So I kind of just went out and with my friends, and then we were kind of just standing around for a bit. And then after that, we went back into the main part of the city and found these vegans who were, showing gore videos, which are literally, paid. They pay the slaughterhouses to make it look even worse than it is, and so they can get it for these, vegan films. And they're showing these to random people, giving them junk food snacks as rewards. So I was like, yeah, let's go and harass these people. Let's go and spark some debate, provoke some thought in these people's minds, and recorded it all and posted it.
Nice. Wow. How did you come up with this idea? Did you just want to go to a vegan event to eat raw lamb head, and you try to search up events?
Well, the idea, the inspiration of going to vegan events and doing this and sparking debate by being provocative comes from a guy on YouTube from a long time ago. Milk something. I honestly can't remember his name. But basically, Goatis did an event with him once, and then kind of just stole the whole idea. But it was like milk something. You can probably find it after this, or I can find it and tell you, and you can put it on the screen. But yeah, it's just this guy who would basically do the same thing, and then I kind of got the idea. I was just trying to find more vegan events, and then this one popped up when I was searching. It was like World Vegan Day picnic or whatever. So I was like, okay, perfect. We'll just go and have a picnic with the vegans and have a recording. It would be good. It would be outside, and I'll be able to have some debates.
Nice. Okay, great. For people who didn't know who is Goatis, how would you introduce him?
I would say he's kind of a clown who has some kind of the right idea, but not really any kind of proper understanding of what he's saying. And yeah, just kind of a parrot who likes to pick and choose what he likes to repeat from people, like Argent Wonder Planets, and won't actually look into anything scientific. Kind of just rage baits in his videos, tries to clip farm all the time, and kind of a loser. He just kind of sits at his desk and makes really low quality videos of him just reacting to random idiots, not providing any sort of value.
Nice. What would you say is the most crazy raw animal food you have eaten?
Probably bull testicles or brain, or maybe raw blood. Blood would probably be the most insane to the general population.
Nice. What about for your own self? For you personally, what do you think is the most crazy?
Probably the testicles.
And is it because it's a genital, or is it because of the taste?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. No, I mean the taste is quite benign. It doesn't really taste very strong or anything in particular. It's kind of reminds me of scallops, to be honest. I don't really like scallops very much. It's kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Nice. Oh, I want to kind of talk about, in my opinion, the craziest raw food I have eaten. Mm-hmm. So it's like a fertilized duck egg.
Oh yeah, that looks cool.
So I ate that raw. Yeah, it's like, have you eaten that?
No. So is that like that's basically like an embryo of a duck? Like
Yes. Yeah.
wow. Yeah, that would how was that? That would probably taste really good, wouldn't it?
So the last time I ate that, because I have eaten this a couple of times, the last time I ate that, I think it wasn't very fresh. So
Okay.
I wasn't a huge fan of that. I think it kind of tastes like brain.
Mm.
I'd
Okay.
say it probably kind of tastes like brain.
Okay.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on eating that?
I think it would, be fine. Like it's just a baby chicken. I mean, or like a is it like it's like the placenta, the uterus, and oh no, it's no, it's in an egg. It's from a bird. It would have a placenta though, I think, and it would just be like a baby chicken or baby duck. So
Yeah.
mm.
Basically, it's just a underdeveloped duck.
Yeah, like
Is
a
that called
lamb.
pre-cum? Is that called pre-cum? Or
No, that's very much not what that means. No.
okay, great. No worries. What's one raw animal food you will never see yourself eating? Or like insects?
Yeah, probably bugs. Like, I feel like that's not something that we really eat as humans. It's just not really appetizing. I mean, probably anything with an exoskeleton. Well, I mean, I guess a lot of seafood has exoskeletons, so that's kind of not really a good rule. But yeah, insects, I guess, frogs, toads, um, any kind of toxic animals like that, poisonous animals, snakes, any venomous snakes. There are a lot of venomous snakes here.
Okay, great. What's the craziest raw animal food you have seen other raw meat eaters eat?
Uh, Probably those fertilized eggs, actually. Like, I just saw a video of someone doing that the other day. I thought that was pretty insane, but also pretty cool at the same time. That was probably the most shocked I'd been watching a food reaction in a while.
Okay, interesting. So was that guy a raw meat eater?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Nice. So I want to talk about your family's diet. Yeah, maybe let me. Do you have any siblings?
No, I don't.
Okay, so what kind of diet does your parents eat?
Well, they eat kind of a regular diet. Well, my dad actually eats a lot better than most people in the sense that he eats kind of, clean. Um, but he doesn't eat a lot of animal foods. He eats a lot of grains and, some vegetables. But yeah, he kind of took my advice a little bit. But he definitely doesn't eat like something that I consider a good diet. Um, he just kind of avoids a lot of bad things, and my mom's diet is just average.
Okay. So how do you feel about your parents' diet?
Of course, I wish it would be better, but I'm not. I'm not really going to try and impose my views
Hmm.
on them at all. I don't think it's very productive to do that with people you're in relationships to. It doesn't like if they want to do it, they'll do it. They won't do it because you convince them to do it. They'll do it because something about themselves drives them to want to change, and then they'll come to you for advice. And of course, I'll be there when that happens inevitably um, to prompt them to prompt them in the right direction. But yeah, no, you're not going to get anywhere if you just try to convince them to change.
Interesting. Do you think your parents are healthy?
No,
Emotionally, physically?
uh, not to where they could be. No.
Okay, great. Do you mind like giving some examples?
Uh, I mean, I prefer not to talk about my parents that much.
Okay, sounds good. So you successfully improve your health a lot by eating a raw animal-based diet. What do your parents think about your health improvements and your diet? And one more time. What do your parents think about your health improvements and your diet?
They're very, I don't know, they're appreciative of my health improvements for sure, but my dad definitely thinks I'm onto something about diet. He definitely kind of sees my kind of insight on that. He just doesn't particularly apply it to his own life so much, but he does kind of recognize that I'm right about a lot of things that I say and that I actually know what I'm talking about for the most part. But my mom, I don't know, she doesn't really think it's good or really support it that much.
Okay, great. So you don't need to answer this question, but I'm curious about the reason why you didn't want to talk about your parents' health situations. Is it because you think it's like disrespectful, or yeah, you can see if you want to talk about this.
Uh, no, I just prefer to keep my personal life offline. Uh, I prefer to not talk about my family or uh, people I know personally online. That's all.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, you are welcome to let me know if you don't feel like answering certain questions.
Yeah, I will, of course.
Do you have many friends that eat a raw animal-based diet?
I have two people who I know in real life who actually practice it properly. Um, a lot of my friends, they do kind of recognize that I, have a lot of my friends recognize me as kind of knowing like what I'm talking about though. Um, and they will come to me for advice or they'll kind of try like improve um, not to go to the extreme, but maybe eat a little bit of raw meat here and there. Like my cousin sent me a video of him the other day. He was just in the park eating raw steak. I think he's done that like twice now. I don't think he definitely doesn't eat it for all of his diet, but a lot of my friends will like try it out because they kind of see that I'm right. They just can't they don't have the resources or they can't build up the courage to completely transition. But yeah, a lot of my friends will, try it and stuff. Oh, actually, to add to that, I've become friends with a few people off social media that do the diet. Like, actually met up with them and become good friends with them. But for the people who I knew, uh, yeah, I mean, I've met probably two people who aren't influencers who do it, either through mutual friends or through social media. But other than that, I probably have like three friends who I've made with other influencers or two friends who I've made with other influencers who I've met up with who consistently do the diet and promote it.
Mm-mm. Um, for people in your life that know you exist, um, what do you think most of them think about your diet?
I mean, they see the health changes that I've had, especially friends that I've had for a long time, and most of them see validity in it just because I'm able to explain it in a way which kind of shows that it's correct, and I'm actually able to come from a standpoint of knowing what I'm talking about, and being able to calm any kind of opposition that they may put to me. So I think for the most part, they think that I'm probably right about it. They just don't really hold any kind of significance to it.
So right now you are not a student. Can you talk about when did you decide to stop being a student and why?
Well, I dropped out of high school when I was 15, after finishing 10th grade because I just wanted to, I didn't see a reason to be in school at all. I wanted to start, actually becoming independent for myself and, get a job and make money. At the time, I was a hairdresser. I had my own kind of business through social media and cutting people at school. And then I got a kind of full-time job and dropped out of school. But, now that I'm doing the social media and now that I'm coaching people and able to make a business out of this, I'm not doing that no longer. Yeah, that's why I dropped out of school. I just didn't see a reason to keep going into school and I wanted to kind of move into the next stage of my life and get a head start.
Did you have this realization on your own, or you got inspired by certain people online or whatever?
I would say for the most part on my own. Yeah.
Oh, so you mentioned that you are hairdresser. I was going to ask you about hair growth. So, when was the last time you cut your hair?
The last time I cut my hair was probably 4 months ago. I just cut like a little bit of it to even it out. But the last time I actually got a proper haircut was probably 11 months ago.
Okay. Do you think eating a raw animal-based diet can accelerate your hair growth?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everything improves to actually promote hair growth. Uh, you've got, a lot more amino acids for building keratin proteins in the hair, and you've got a lot more better blood flow. You're going to have a lot lower oxidative stress and a lot less glycation, which both stiffen the scalp and reduce blood flow to the hair, reduce oxygen delivery and nutrient delivery. And then on top of that, with, getting good movement and getting good sunlight and having good sleep, all of that will compound to having your hair growing rapidly fast.
Great. So, what's your plan with your hairstyle right now? Are you like trying to keep growing it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep growing it. I mean, I like it how it is now. I've liked it more and more at every length as it gets longer. So I'm just gonna see, if it starts getting to a length where I'm like, okay, it used to look better, maybe I'll cut it. But we'll see. I see it getting longer, and I like it more. At least for now, at least what it's been like for now until up until now. So yeah, I'll keep growing it for now.
Nice. Do you think it's always better for men to have longer hair?
Yeah, I think a lot of men they shave the sides of their head and make their face look very weird, and the hair is frames the head, and having long or short hair is not a dimorphic trait. It's not a sexual trait at all. It's just what we've been taught. And cutting your hair short, it became a part because of the military and because of uniformity in education, in the government systems. And women always prefer men to have at least medium to long length hair. It's you can ask basically any girl on the street; they'll prefer guys with long hair, except for maybe a small minority of girls. But for the most part, I think long hair is more attractive on both sexes.
Okay, great. It's interesting you said that long hair is not dimorphic because do you think it's like only exclusive to men? Because I definitely think when a girl is like having extremely short hair, they look less feminine.
Oh, no, I think that I'm just saying that it's not, an innate trait that is actually affected at all by sexual dimorphism in humans, whether your hair grows long or is short. I think that probably the short hair look on women might look more masculine just because they look closer to what most men look like today, and they look less like women the women that we know. But in terms of it being actually a dimorphic trait, I don't think that's at all true. And I think that we don't realize how much of an effect short hair has on men. And I think it affects men's attractiveness to the same extent that it does on women. I think that men having short hair is just as much of a detriment to how attractive they are as it would be for women. And we just don't realize that.
That's really interesting. So right now you have a pretty big social media following. I would like to talk about what made you want to start making content. Was it because of you want to be successful, or you want to share what you have to say to help people?
Well, I would say it's simply just because it's my nature to be more of a creator rather than a consumer. I've been producing content for years, and I've always been the one to start producing, even if something doesn't manifest out of it, even if it doesn't produce any fruit. I've always been the one to start creating as soon as I get interested in something instead of consuming. Like back when I was in primary school, I got interested in comic books, and I did read a lot of them, but at the same time I started drawing them. I started making my own comic books. Then I got into gaming, video games, and immediately I started creating my own content. Even though I definitely wasn't successful in that, I started editing videos. I started making edits of my own gameplay and posting that. And then in high school, basically throughout my whole life, any interest that I've had, I've been the creator. I've began creating from that. And before this, I had some political channel. For a very short amount of time, I had a political following. Because I would get banned over and over, and then I just kind of gave up on that. I didn't really see it bearing any fruit. And then before that, I was posting, about my e-commerce business and how to be successful in e-commerce when I was in high school. And then before that, I was, it's just everything. I've been always posting content, always being the creator rather than the consumer. So when I started this diet, it was kind of just me channeling my interest into some sort of creation. I didn't expect to gain a following. I didn't expect to start coaching people on health. I didn't even expect to I didn't even expect to have the knowledge level that I do now. But just because I found a new interest, I found something in my life, and I was inspired by what I consumed, and just my nature began creating. And I manifested this social media following that I have today, just because that's my nature. I'm more of a creator rather than a consumer. That's why I started posting, I guess.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Let me see how I can ask this question. Like, for people to take action, it's not an easy thing. So what would you say was the reason that you were able to take actions? Because for people, maybe they have an idea, but they are afraid to take action, and or they don't think they can make it, or whatever. They have some self-doubt. So how were you starting from a long time ago? You were just always creating. Do you think there are some reasons?
That's a very loaded question. Can you rephrase it simply for me so that I don't go off topic?
Okay, sounds good. Sounds like you didn't have a lot of gap between having an idea to taking action, which I feel like many people have this issue. Like, people, maybe they don't even have an idea. I guess that's another topic. But for people that have kind of an ambition, an idea, I think a lot of them don't think they are capable, or they're afraid of people's judgments, so they are not taking action. But sounds like for you, you were not really having this kind of issue, What was it like for you?
Yeah, I just think that's something that is just inside people, and I think there's nothing I can really say or any kind of advice I can give people who struggle to take action on their ideas. I just honestly think those type of people are doomed to stay exactly where they are. I think people who take action will always take action, and people who are going to have ideas and have their own doubts and would rather be, just comfortable and have the life that they have now. I think if you have an idea or if you have a vision which is realistic and you can see that it's realistic because other people have accomplished that, you can clearly see that it's accomplishable, but you don't take action even though you want it. You don't want it enough, or you're just too comfortable. You're comfortable enough with the life that you have now to not risk it, even though the only risk is just staying where you are. These people, they will have the idea. Even some of my friends that I know, they will have something in their life. I will say, okay, you want to make money with this? I'll show you how to do it. Here's an example of how you can do it. Here are the steps to do it. I'll say, but if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. They just don't do it because they dopamine talk about all their ideas. They will never actually take action or succeed because they're comfortable enough staying where they are now. And with me, I'm not comfortable enough. I wasn't comfortable enough staying where I was at the time. And I'll never be comfortable. And that's why I'll continue growing and continue being more successful. And it's the same kind of people who will continue growing and continue being more and more successful because they'll never be comfortable with where they are. They'll never be comfortable with a bad situation that they don't like because they actually have the high respect for themselves. They have high standards of living for themselves for where they want to be, and they think highly of themselves as people who can live that life or can build that business. And people who are comfortable staying where they are, they can't imagine themselves there. They just don't have that respect of themselves. They don't think of themselves as good enough. And so they're comfortable with where they are and they don't respect themselves enough to take action. And those people are doomed to stay where they are. And the other type of people, they will keep on succeeding. There's no kind of advice I can give to people like that, really.
Okay, great. I guess for you personally, growing up, you always had this idea that you want to make shit happen. Would that be fair?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So we kind of talked about this during our previous conversations on Instagram. So I want you to talk about what are some challenges you have faced along your content creation journey.
Probably it was, for the most part, getting ridiculed by people around me being in school. Not so much building, this brand currently, but in previous brands that I've built and previous businesses that I've built while I was in high school, there was a lot of tall poppy syndrome and a lot of people trying to bring me down. And that's always going to happen when you're the one that actually takes action. Because when the creator is in a field of consumers, the consumers are always going to see, that you have something that they just can't. Like you have something that no matter what courses they buy, no matter what advice they give you give them, they'll never actually have that nature. They'll never be a creator. They'll never be someone to take action. And they see that in you and themselves, and they kind of just try to bring you down. That was that was basically the biggest challenge that I had in content creation. Yeah.
Okay, nice. But you always had like this grit, I guess. You want to make shit happen, so you could still keep going.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. I think it's great you had that kind of trait, because I think a lot of people might just be very like occupied with what other people are thinking. So they don't really prioritize their goals.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's they really feel like they can't risk losing, embarrassing themselves or whatever, or putting themselves out there for people to judge, these low level people that they don't want to be involved with in the first place. That's why they have that ambition to, you know, make shit happen. But they just can't risk losing these loser people just because they don't see themselves as better than them at all. They just see themselves as one of them. So they don't want to, get kicked out of the pack or whatever because they think they won't be accepted anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important for someone to have people that are making shit happen in their life, so that they have some examples. They know things are possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. If your circle consists of bums who don't make shit happen, they just dopamine talk all the time, and they're comfortable being where they are. If most of your circle is like that, then you're never going to be the one to make shit happen, because even if these people, they trust you and they're nice to you and you consider them friends and they consider you friends, these people will never be able to actually truly support you, because they just don't, because they see you as one of them. They don't see you as someone who will make shit happen, because they don't see that in themselves, and they see you guys, they see you as one of them, basically. So they don't see like that can happen. So they're kind of trying to, stop you from jumping off the cliff and going into something that they think that you can't achieve.
How do you feel about your current success, your current level of success when it comes to making content? And do you have any advice for people that want to get to your current level?
I'm very
so can I sorry, I want to add on a little more information. I feel like your content, you are not the most followed content creators, but I think the engagement is strong. So that's why I'm trying to ask you, if people want to have a strong community like you, what advice would you give them?
I mean, right now, honestly, I'm not content at all with the level of engagement and the audience I have right now. But obviously, it's very successful compared to the majority of people, or majority of content creators. I would say really know your audience, because if you don't know who you're trying to target or who you're trying to sell to, and you still get views, you're going to get people who they're going to be invaluable followers, and it's not going to achieve anything. Having followers is good for sure, but that's a mistake I've made in the past, not knowing who I actually want to target and why I want to target that kind of person, and then getting a lot of followers because I knew how to go viral. I'm very skilled at going viral for sure, but that's not something that can actually always manifest into something properly valuable. It doesn't always get you valuable followers or a proper audience that you would actually be able to monetize.
Nice. Yeah, that's some solid advice. I guess just be more intentional.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Do you think it's always bad to attract? This sounds kind of stupid, but yeah, let's say you just want to make a piece of funny content and you might attract some people that might not be your ideal followers. Do you think that should be avoided?
No. I mean, that's kind of what we call top of funnel content. Just getting your name out there, getting some kind of audience. That shouldn't be avoided, but it definitely shouldn't be something that you prioritize. Well, it shouldn't be the majority of your content. I see a lot of content creators, especially in my kind of community, they only will post top of funnel content which gets them engagement, which gets them followers, but they don't post anything which actually nourishes the followers, actually nurtures the following, and builds an actual audience that they want and targets the right people, they only kind of go for things that go viral or get them engagement, which is not always the best thing you can do.
That's really interesting. Have a main lane, but have fun sometimes at the same time, I guess.
Oh yeah. I mean, basically, I try to post most of my content intentionally, and if I do post some engagement bait, it'll be related to my niche, which gets me like a variety of followers of different types of people, and then you have the kind of middle funnel content where you provide some sort of value and you kind of target a specific audience, and then you post that actual proper value content which nurtures the followers into buying a service or buying a product from you. But I also will sometimes just post random stuff because kind of having a brand, you can post stuff that is genuine and post stuff about yourself, even if it's not related to your niche all the time. I'm gonna just give me a minute. I'll be back in a sec.
Okay. Be back?
Yeah, I just had to get these glasses because my eyes were hurting from the ring light. That's all.
Ooh, okay. Sounds good.
It's like nighttime, so I try to avoid a lot of light.
Nice. How long do you think we can keep talking for?
I mean, how many more questions are we kind of towards the end of your questions? Like, I don't have
Looks okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to talk about hospitals and dating, and then that's pretty much it, I guess.
Sure.
Okay,
I
let me
mean,
see.
I don't have a time frame in mind, but actually my battery is kind of low and I need to actually unplug the internet to charge it. So
Mm-hmm.
probably would be best to try to finish up soon.
Okay, sounds good. You can like let me know, keep me
Yeah.
posted. Let me see. If you have a family member that's feeling very sick, would you take them to the hospital?
It depends on what kind of sickness what their symptoms were. If they were, bleeding out of their leg, absolutely I would. But if they had a stomach ache or they were throwing up, no, I don't see how the hospital could help. They would only make the problem worse.
Okay. What if they want to go to the hospital?
I would try to explain what's actually happening within them to the best of my ability, based on what I see them doing and what they're actually experiencing, and why the hospital's treatment would actually be, not beneficial to them and not in their best interests. But no, I wouldn't stop them if they really wanted to. I would just kind of explain to them why that would actually make the issue worse, or if not make the symptoms worse, they would not treat the root cause.
How? Why do you think hospitals are so successful?
Oh, they use a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, and those are like manufactured in labs to treat symptoms, so they can heal, they can fix the actual issue that people are noticing, but in the long run, they usually don't treat the root cause, and they just don't focus on the root cause at all, and then they keep people coming back for prescriptions, keep them in a cycle of chasing symptoms, and it leads to a lot of accumulated toxicity in the body and side effects, and all these things when you could just treat the root cause. And it's just because these hospitals are heavily funded by the pharmaceutical companies who make trillions of dollars from selling these pharmaceuticals to hospitals, and hospitals get paid to prescribe these things over, like doctors are literally paid to prescribe drugs over providing a solution, like which would actually, that's what they're paid to do, right? They're paid to prescribe drugs and they're paid to prescribe expensive treatments to make people money. Hospitals are a business.
So overall, as a raw meat eater, what are your thoughts on doctors and hospitals?
There's nothing inherently bad about having the authority of being a doctor, but to hold a license, you actually have to adhere to a curriculum of prescribed treatments, whether it's medications, whether it's different treatments. You actually have to adhere to a certain curriculum, and if you actually go against that, you risk losing your license. So I think it's a lot of selling out, and they don't have the client or the patient's actual interests first, because obviously they're employed to do a certain thing, and they risk losing their license if they don't do that and they actually put the patient's interest first. Like if they actually have knowledge which goes against the medical curriculum, which can actually benefit the patient, they're not allowed to do that. And if they want to do that, they risk losing their license and their way of providing for their family.
Okay, let me get into some questions around dating. So, because I know you probably don't like to talk about personal stuff, so yeah. But anyways,
I'm happy to talk about dating as long as it's not about my own relationships.
okay. Yeah, I guess you can talk about it in general for sure. Let's see. Maybe there's a better way to put this, but what are your thoughts on having a one-night stand with girls?
I think it's unproductive, and it's probably not the best idea if you're actually, dating with an intention to have a family, and to at least have some kind of proper connection. It's very different in modern times to, if say 500 years ago, if you find a girl that you like, and she's still living with her father, she's never had interactions with a guy before, and then you go and take her and you sleep with her. It's very different to nowadays. You go to a club and then you find a woman with 15, 20 bodies, and then you sleep with her for no reason, and it's just instant gratification. Whereas if you did the same thing 500 years ago, that would actually manifest into a marriage and a proper relationship and family and a proper connection, because that woman hasn't been ruined yet like most women are today. And there's actually a potential for proper bonding, chemical bonding with that woman.
So it sounds like you are not a big fan of a girl having a high body count at all. My question for you is, how are you going to know if a girl has a past?
There's not really any way of knowing, unfortunately, for certain, other than asking them, which kind of shows weakness and would only kind of hurt the relationship in the future. But me being at 16, well, actually, I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's just an unfortunate case where most girls today don't have the ability to actually have a proper, chemical, like have a proper biochemical, being like a proper biochemical state to actually have a bonding with you. Their brain chemistry is all messed up from having that past, and that's just unfortunate. And there's there are still, virgin women out there, but probably just going for younger women, I would say. Like that's probably just you'll have more success with that, obviously legally. But yeah.
Do you think it's bad for a guy to have a high body count?
I think it's very different to women having high body counts, but uh, I do think there is some value in virginity even for men because it allows for a deeper connection with the woman still. But I think it's very insignificant compared to women having a high body count.
I guess your reasoning is that when a girl or like lady she sleep with more guys, her future ability to fall deeply in love with a guy is going to be weaker. But that's not really the case for a guy, right?
Yeah, I mean the brain chemistry between men and women during sex is quite different. Men, the brain in male brains prioritize dopamine and kind of prioritize performance rather than as opposed to women who kind of really enter a chemical bonding state due to oxytocin.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on? I'm just curious about your thoughts. I know you're 16 years old, but what are your thoughts on using birth protection to avoid the potential of pregnancy?
I think it's ridiculous. I think it destroys, the health of the woman and her hormonal health, and destroys her ability to actually select a future partner if she wants to do that in the future. And just because of the way it affects her ability to do that through her hormones. And I think it also comes from women being convinced to go into a lot of careers, focus on being independent, which is obviously just a ploy for the government to get more taxes and be able to raise your children on their own.
I guess there are a lot of topics to get into here. Let me see. Yeah, I have a interesting question.
Sure. My battery's on 6%, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's the law like in your country, but there's like a restriction in terms of when you can have sex legally. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know. I don't really want to talk about that. I try to stay away from that kind of discussion with my brand. That's all.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, understandable. Let's see. Do you think you can like disappear and then come back? Does that work for you?
Wait, in what context?
Oh, I mean like right now, because you are like your battery is dying, right?
Okay. Yeah, could probably do that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just keep asking my questions.
Mm-hmm.
What do you look for in a girl when you are looking for someone to date long term?
I don't really know yet. Like, I don't know.
Okay, is there a girl that eats raw meat? That's like your type.
You mean online or that I've met?
I guess online because that's how more people can know.
I can't think of anyone specific. There are some like decent looking girls. Yeah, I don't really try to look for girls that eat raw meat. I don't feel like that's really that's really irrelevant to me.
So are you saying that it doesn't really matter if your girlfriend eats raw meat?
No, I mean when you look for a girl, that's not what you should look for. If like as the guy, you're the leader. So any strong value that you hold, and if a girl is properly feminine, then they will follow. It doesn't matter. Like you literally control how they act and what they believe in and whatever. They, they don't have any, like what they believe in, their values. Like none of this even matters at all.
Mm-hmm. So, um, I prepared some questions around your personal dating life. I'm going to throw this out there.
All right.
So, what's dating like for you? Do you usually come across girls? How do they usually treat you? Oh, but I don't want to say too much. That'll make you forget. Um, Let me just ask you this: what's dating like for you right now?
Something I'm not focusing on at all.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, then this is still going to be relevant.
Mm.
Um, how would you say girls usually treat you? And did you notice a difference after you became more attractive by eating a healthier diet?
Oh yeah, for sure. Before, I didn't get a lot of attention from girls. I mean, I wasn't extremely ugly. I was just kind of average. Like, I still could have some success with girls if I tried. But now it's like very different. Like, I went out a couple days ago, Saturday night. I was just walking around. I was getting like catcalled on the street, had girls coming up to me and stuff. And I'm not wearing like high boots or anything. I was literally wearing sandals. It's yeah, I mean it's better now. I mean obviously like I look better, I feel better, I'm more confident in myself. Um, it's much better now.
Okay, so sounds like right now your priority is not really like getting girls whatsoever, but do you still have desire to um, have intimacy or whatever?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if I come across a girl and um I like her and she likes me, then so be it. That's good. But I'm just not really trying to. It's not what my focus is on right now. I'm trying not to like fill my head with that.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to know is, um, do you ever feel like this is so kind of funny? Um, Maybe you can talk about your stance on watching porn and fapping.
Oh, it's very bad. Like obviously, it's horrible for men's confidence. Horrible for any kind of drive. It completely kills the drive of men. Um, and yeah, it's created by people who control the media and control the rest of the world, and just to destroy men's drive, to destroy like the perspective around relationships, and destroy men's confidence in themselves. Yeah, it's just incredibly destructive in every single way, and um, can be very, very addicting and very deleterious to your lifestyle for sure, and to achieving your goals as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, but the thing is, men they watch porn or they fap for a reason. They have this desire. So, for someone like you, is that a thing for you? Like, do you have that kind of desire, and how do you go about that?
Well, yeah, I have quite a high sex drive, I would say. Um, I guess it's very. I mean, you can't you can't avoid it by trying to, consciously avoid it, like a lot of like no fap people do. That's why they get kept in the cycle. It just means that you don't understand what you actually want, which is like a proper intimacy with a girl, and you don't have any kind of purpose in your life, kind of any focus, um, to where you would be pathetic enough to kind of indulge in anything like that. like you really just have no purpose if you struggle with that kind of thing.
So how do you usually like deal with that kind of feeling?
Um, just by preventing it from ever happening, by having focus on other things, having a proper focus on something that I need to achieve, or you know, have talking to girls always helps.
Hmm.
Like that's kind of the only thing you need to do is either have something you're working on or have a prospect of a girl for a relationship.
Hmm. Hmm. That's some good advice. Nice. Let me see. What are your thoughts on approaching girls?
I think it's good. I think it's very difficult for men, and it's still difficult for me in a way occasionally, just because of social media. It really agonizes girls' standards to such a high level to where they have all these celebrities that they see online. The top 10% of men get pushed on their feeds, and that's what they think they deserve because that's all that they see. Um, and yeah, it's really destructive to how relationships are now. But yeah, cold approaching is good. Um, Girls will come up to you if you're attractive, but also going up to a girl and initiating that and being the creator of that relationship is um, yeah, it's productive for sure.
Hmm. Nice. I like how you say productive. Oh, this is interesting. So, do you see people that do better than you despite living a normal lifestyle, eating a not very optimal diet? And how do you feel about that?
Do better than me in what kind of way?
Career wise, health wise, looks wise?
Oh yeah, there are definitely people who look better than me, who potentially look healthier than me, just because they're not predisposed to issues that I am, and they haven't struggled with issues in the past like I have. Um, People that look better than me because they've had better development, um, you know, and yeah, people career wise because they've had more time or they've known how to target audience better or they've had more opportunities or more money or whatsoever, whatever. Like, of course, there's always going to be people doing better than me, despite being on a raw diet. There's nothing about raw diet that makes me special except um, helps with my focus, helps my drive, helps to look better and actually be the face of my brand because I look healthy. Um, and of course, me being above average in looks helps with that too. But yeah, there are definitely people who do better than me.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I
Or
think it's
like you
I
don't
think
really care?
well, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. It's not at all productive to think about it, and kind of you as a man, you always have to be accountable for your own success or your own failures. Otherwise, you're never going to achieve anything. You're just going to be stuck in a victim mindset, like a lot of feminine guys are, and you're just never going to get anywhere if you're placed in an unfortunate situation and you can't find a way to keep yourself accountable so that you can get yourself out of it, because the only person that's going to get yourself out of the situation or make your situation better is yourself. So as a man, you have to find a way to stay accountable for everything that happens to you.
Nice. Is there a race you prefer when it comes to finding a girlfriend?
Oh yeah, I prefer white women for sure.
Hmm. And is it just because of the looks, or there are other reasons?
Um, yeah, I mean that's just what I prefer, really.
Let's see. Are there some things you want to do but right now you are not doing because of fear or laziness or whatever?
No.
Well, that's awesome. I feel how do I say this? Honored.
Okay.
Let's see. So, so Marcus, can you talk about what are your goals now?
Uh, just my goals at the moment to become the healthiest version of myself. Again, I can obviously become more healthy than I am now. I truly believe that. I truly believe everyone can strive for better health, no matter how healthy you are, just because of how people have been in the past, like how their upbringing and such, and what they've been exposed to. Um, yeah, that's basically it. Becoming the best version of myself, health wise, financially, growing my brand, um, making sure I target the right people, growing a good following that I can, that's actually valuable, the right people, the right kind of people with the right issues, and helping people achieve, helping people to become the best versions of themselves with their health.
Can I ask you how tall are you?
Yeah, I'm 183 centimeters.
Okay. Um, have you publicly talk about this?
Yeah, I've said many different heights online in the past, and people speculate whether I'm 5'7" or 6'3", because I kind of like to have fun with it. Um, but yeah, I'm 183. I'm above average in height.
And are you happy with your current height? Do you think you will become taller?
I'd like to be taller, and I'm not really sure. I mean, being 16, there's a possibility, but I'm also like further into puberty than basically every 16-year-old that I'm aware of. So, there's a bit of
Oh,
that maybe I'm finished growing, maybe I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to grow a little bit taller. Yeah.
100%. Nice. That's interesting. Basically, you are saying that when you eat a healthier diet, your development process is going to end sooner.
No, no, no. I just chance or based on my own, based on some factors which I'm not aware of, I hit puberty quite early compared to most people,
Oh,
or it was very accelerated. And I get told I look a lot older than I am, and I've always been told I look older than I am. I get told I look 18, 20, 21. So, yeah.
it's pretty interesting. Nice. Um, would you say you are the biggest raw meat creator in Australia?
Oh, no, no. Second, there's my friend Mason. He's killing it.
Ah, yeah,
He's from
100%.
Melbourne.
Nice, nice. Have you met up with him before?
Yeah, I mean, I went to dinner with him a couple nights ago. Actually, we haven't made any content together, but yeah, we've met up.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Wow. What did you guys eat?
Oh, tartar.
Nice. Do you still have all your teeth?
What kind of question is that?
Well, because people get their teeth removed.
Oh, yeah, no, I still have all my teeth. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why was the question confusing?
No, I had no idea. Why I wouldn't have all my teeth.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I have. I've never got any teeth removed. My wisdom teeth are just starting to come through, and I don't think I'll have any issues with that. I don't think I'll need them to be removed.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Nice. And have you worn braces?
No, I've never had any kind of orthodontic intervention other than a silicone mouth guard in the past.
And are your teeth straight?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Let's go. Nice, nice. W. Do you have any thoughts on removing teeth?
I'm not
It's
really
pretty
not.
common nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big stigma around removing teeth in, looks max communities, whether it, recedes your jaw. I've seen instances where it does cause recession of the jaw. Um, I think there's a lot of nuance about it that I don't understand, so I'm not gonna like put my, uneducated opinion on that because that's not really what I'm educated in.
Great. Nice. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
A lot healthier than now, a lot better looking. Um, yeah, I mean, financial freedom, probably, have helped a lot of people to improve their health with a big community of people striving to become the healthiest people, the healthiest version of themselves. And yeah, just having a big community of people big community of men, young men who want to become the healthiest versions of themselves, the best looking versions of themselves, and the the most confident versions of themselves, and fix all of the health problems that have been caused by their terrible upbringing, which everyone has had for the most part.
Nice. I can tell you care a lot about becoming healthier, and that's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty, how do you say this? This kind of goal can give you a lot of motivation because it's pretty worth it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really more valuable than your health.
So this is my last question for this interview. If you could change one thing about our world, what would you like to see happening?
I would like the big corporations stop ruining the environment that we live in. I'm not very concerned about, saving the environment in a hippie way, but in terms of how it affects the way we live and our health, like the chemicals that they put in the sky, the industrial waste products that they dump into the ocean, which we're consuming through our food, and we're breathing in these chemicals that get sprayed into the sky. They get rained down into the produce and into the land that our agriculture is grazing on, that we then eat, and we absorb it through the air we breathe. And we can see people have done saunas and compared it to like done saunas and like detox protocols, a lot of sweating after they've seen cloud seeding happening, and they've compared it to when there's no cloud seeding. You can see a significant amount of aluminium. You can see a significant amount of aluminium and other metals coming out of them when the cloud seeding is happening. So there's no doubt that we're actually being affected by these big corporations putting bullshit in our environment, basically. So that's one thing that I would like to see change in the world.
Okay, guys, this has been your guest, Marcus. I'm your host, Eggman. So hope you enjoy the questions I prepared, Marcus.
Yeah, it was good chatting with you, good conversation. Hopefully the viewers benefit from watching this, and hopefully they got some sort of value out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So like Marcus said, hope you guys found value from his perspectives and stories. Shout out to you if you are still here. Remember to keep your eye on your boy Eggman because he's going to keep pumping out great interviews like this one. And make sure to go check out my previous ones if you know what's up. All right. So let's say goodbye to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Peace out. Beautiful eyes. Let's go.